friends, this is Brett Richards coming to you again, and if you've been following my Facebook page, you'll note that I had mentioned that there were going to be some changes after the new year, and those changes have come about for two reasons. The first reason is from feedback from many of you. When I started this journey, which I'm going to get into in just a minute, I had kind of this vision of this video journey recording thing, but what's happening is because of the limitations with video and uploading and so forth, there's just not a lot of information getting out per video, and I've been really surprised at the feedback from everyone and people wanting to know just what exactly happened here, what really did happen, and that's in my book. Now, I'm going to share this video with you just to give you kind of a roadmap, and then there's going to be another one following this, and then I'm going to announce the changes. So what's going to happen is, after these couple of posts that I'm going to get to real quick, I'm just going to upload part one of my book, and I'm going to upload it by chapter in PDF form, and then at least the entire story leading up to my arrest in the Philippines will be out there for anyone who wants to see it, read it, share it, criticize it, whatever the case may be. So I thought I'd go back in time just a little bit for a second and start kind of at the beginning. So my name is Brett Richards, and I was born in Merced, California in 1967, and after a reasonably decent childhood, I grew up, and as a young adolescent, I chose not to go to college. I chose to get into the blue-collar world, and I ended up driving truck and doing a lot of heavy construction and heavy underground construction and operating equipment and stuff like that. It was a good life. It was a good career. I call that my first career, and I did that up until sometime around 1996 or 7, and then I chose, based on some things that were happening with my career at that time, to cash out, so to speak, and go back to school and go to college. And so I did that. I went to Fresno Pacific University. And while I was with Fresno Pacific University trying to get my education, I was hired by the city of Fresno, where I worked for a long time, made a lot of great friends, met a lot of great people, and I spent 9 years or so working for the city of Fresno. Finished my college at that time, and then things started changing for me. And those of us who started at the bottom or didn't have anything handed to us, I'm sure most of us are in that boat. I'm in that boat. I was pursuing the American dream, right? I had done all right in the blue-collar field. I was making probably somewhere between 40 and 50,000 a year in the early 90s, mid 90s perhaps. It was decent, it was adequate, but I had visions of making more money, and I think we all do. We all want to do better than we're doing. And so after college, I started getting recruited for these different positions, and I ended up leaving the city of Fresno in about 2006 and going and working for another municipality, a county just north of there. And then in 2008, I got my big break, I guess you could say. I was being recruited every month. Something with my blue-collar background and my supervisor training and my college education just seemed to appeal to a lot of recruiters during those early 2000 years, mid 2000 years, and I just started getting recruited really heavily for some really prime positions. Surprised myself. And so I was interviewing all around the state of California. I was interviewing for positions that were, the highest down in LA, I think, was $325,000 annual salary. I didn't get that position. I interviewed for another that was 260 or 70,000 a year. These were real premium positions, and I didn't get them, of course, but I was competing. I was learning how to compete for positions like that. I was getting experience interviewing in front of boards. And I'd like to make a note here that I'm going to reinforce later, but these were all public agencies run by elected board members and public civil servants, and that's really important for the story that you're about to hear. Again, I'll reinforce that later. But so in any case, in 2008, I had gone on probably 5 or 6 separate interviews. I'd competed pretty well in most of them, and really well in a couple of them. I know on one other one, I was told that I was actually the candidate because the more qualified candidate was in Hawaii or something and didn't want to relocate, and then after the interview changed his mind and decided that he did want to relocate and he was the better candidate, so he got the job. But that gave me a lot of great confidence, and I felt, wow, you know, I'm really competing for the first time in my life for these amazing opportunities, doing what I love to do, which is fix underground pipe. I worked in the water business and the sewer business and the storm business for many years, and helping people and working in the community and providing customer services was just what I love to do. I loved the split between having some office work and being an administrator and a manager of people, but I also love being out in the field and seeing the dirt and getting dirty and digging, just like any typical boy, I guess you could say. So in 2008, a recruiter that I'd worked with previously called me. This was the summer of 2008, and told me that there was a public organization in Marin County called the Ross Valley Sanitary District. You can find them at rvsd.org. And this recruiter told me that they were urgently seeking a general manager to take over operations of a sewer district that served the Ross Valley in Marin County, which is kind of central Marin County, south of Novato, north of Sausalito, west of San Rafael. And so I thought, wow, that's great. You know, it wasn't as high paying as the others, but it was more than double what I was making at that time, the starting salary. It was a lot of autonomy. It looked like a great, you know, Marin County by reputation and by all rights is a beautiful, amazing place. Many good things come out of there. They have the beautiful Northern California coastline, the north end of the Golden Gate Bridge, Sausalito. Many people are familiar with Sausalito, a beautiful community in southern Marin, and many other great things as well. It's also a very affluent community. It's a community with an extraordinarily low population, with extraordinarily high average net worth. But there were things going on there that were not obvious on the outside. Anyways, that summer I was recruited to go there, and I went up and did an interview with the 5-member board, all elected politicians, California publicly elected politicians. And I went home and I thought, well, you know, that seemed great, but I'm still kind of new, getting my feet wet, learning how to interview, and I probably wouldn't get the position. But I learned a lot. And lo and behold, I got a call, and they wanted me to come back for a second interview. So I made arrangements and took the time, drove up there, went up there the day before, got a place to stay, drove through the community. I had asked for a copy of their budget so I could see their budget issues. And an org chart. They did not have an org chart at that time, which was symptomatic of things to come. And I went up for my second interview, and it got real personal. I interviewed, I think, for 2 hours. The first interview was long as well, but the second interview was very deep, and we went into great detail about how I would deal with certain things. I was starting to get a flavor. I'd spent several hours with these people now, and I was starting to get a feel for what the agency was like, and the staffing issues and some of the conflicts that they had that they wanted resolved. I was still excited. My degree was in organizational psychology or business management, And I didn't feel like I was being presented at that time anything that was beyond my abilities. It was still, basically, there was a large exodus out of these public sector management positions through that decade. And so there were just not a lot of candidates who had the actual field experience and the education to meet the MQs. And so I was fortunate. I came home feeling really good about the opportunity, and then they contacted me a third time, and they said, look, it's down to you and one other guy, and this is my recruiter talking to me now. You know, it's down to you and one other guy, and we think that you both have great qualifications. He's got much more experience. That's a polite way of saying he was much older than me. But they said that they were excited about my youth and energy, and a person at that point in my life, I was only 40, well, early 40s. But they needed to go another round of interviews, and so we made the arrangements, and I went up, got a place to stay at the same place I'd stayed before, drove through the community again, and went over and did the third interview. And this interview was shorter but just as deep, and they had an agenda of about 4 or 5 things that they wanted to check off the list. And those 4 or 5 things became 6 things, which became my mandates when I was hired. And those are very important. Those are in the book right up front, and it won't take much time to get to them. So I wanted to lay that out for you, for those of you that are going to take the time to read the book. Let me tell you what's going to happen next. I'm going to post this video, just giving you the background, and then I have another video that is some housekeeping that I have to do, just to set the stage. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the chapters of my book. I wanted to show you of part 1 of my book, actually. This is my book. You can see right here. This is my book, 825 Days, and it's 825 pages-ish, give or take. The first part 1, are the green dividers. The second part are the fuchsia dividers, and part 3 are the blue dividers. Okay? Now, what I plan to do is upload each of the chapters in part 1. Part 1 covers everything that I just shared to you in a nutshell, plus the next almost 4 years of working for the Ross Valley Sanitary District. It also includes little vignettes at the beginning of each chapter about my time in the Philippine prison. And it'll make sense when you see it. But I start each chapter, I begin chapter 1 with being arrested, and then I begin reflecting back. And so at the beginning of each of the chapters in part 1, there's this little reflection going back to the Philippine prison. And so when I got arrested and then put in the Philippine prison and then what life was like there, those are 5, 6, 7 pages, each of those little sections. And then following that, the rest of each of those part 1 chapters are the story, beginning where I just began with being born in Merced, quickly in less than a chapter getting up through my recruitment to the Ross Valley Sanitary District. And then each of the balance of the chapters in part 1 is what happened, is the story of how I ended up being wrongfully imprisoned for a crime that never happened. And I'm going to introduce you to the people, the players, the organizations, everybody that was involved, and I'm going to set that up in the next video. So I just wanted you to see that. That's the plan. After these couple of videos, I'm going to put part 1 up on the internet. I'm going to put it up on my blog at writingforfreedom.com, and I'm also going to put it up on my new Facebook group, 825days.com. So if you're seeing this at my Facebook page, Brett Richards, please look for my group, 825 Days. It has a picture of my book as the cover photo for that group, and in that group is where I will be uploading the book. So I'll be mentioning it over on my Facebook page so people know they can go look for it. But the place to find it is either on my group, 825 Days again, or on my own website, writingforfreedom.com, under Brett's blog. So it'll be in those 2 places. After I get part 1 up, we'll reevaluate. I'll be interested to hear your feedback. I'm not a professional writer. This was just a passion that I wanted to do. I wanted to write a book, and I've done it. And it's a very painful subject, but I'm looking forward to sharing it with you, and we'll get into that in the next video. So thank you very much for your time. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.